Are the Dallas Mavericks a good basketball team? I'm actually asking because I have absolutely zero idea. They're currently 13-11. They're having probably one of, if not the most frustrating start to a season among any team in the league right now. And it's no secret. They have pissed me off so far to start the year. Stu, easy drive, easy layup. Timeout, Mavs. Get them off my fucking screen. I hate their guts so much. OG drive. Good contest by Maxey, but it's a foul and one. Goodbye. Get this shit off my fucking screen. I hate this team. Get this shit off my screen. This is a pathetic showing. I don't give a but I only get pissed for one reason. This is a good team, man. I really do. I look at this team. You could see it on the floor from time to time, and you see it when you take a closer look at some of the advanced numbers for this team. There's a good team here. In this 13-11 record, which is very mediocre. I think they're, 7th in the West right now, but they were 10th going into the game last night. There's a good team hidden inside of this muck of mediocrity so far. First and foremost, they have more wins against 500 or better teams than anyone in the NBA with 11. Yes, only 2 of their wins so far this season have been against non-winning teams. That's pretty impressive. That's pretty impressive stuff. But the problem is you've lost to teams like the Pelicans without Zion and without Brandon Ingram. You lost to the Pistons without Cade Cunningham. You lost to the Wizards without Bradley Beal and Kristaps Porzingis. You lost to the Magic without Paolo. You lost to the Rockets. You lost to the Thunder in a game where you blew like a 14-point lead in the final 3 minutes of the game. You see where I'm getting at? All of these frustrating losses. But then you look at some of their wins, like a blowout win over the Suns, a blowout win over the Grizzlies, a hard-fought win over the Warriors, who are 5-1 in their last 6 going into that game. And then last night, as of the time I'm recording this, a crazy win on the second night of a back-to-back in Denver, one of the toughest places to play on the road, period, but the toughest place to play on the second night of a back-to-back. The Nuggets have the best home record against opposing teams on the second night of a back-to-back in the NBA since like 2017 or something. So yeah, these great wins combined with these great losses leads to one of the most confusing teams in the league right now. Either way, there's plenty that suggests that this is a very good basketball team. Like let's look at some of the advanced numbers. Okay, 1, they're top 7 in net rating. That's usually a pretty good indicator, and especially, we're over a quarter of the way into the season at this point. So you could start to look at net rating and you could start to make some judgments. They're top 7 in net rating. They're top 10 in both offensive and defensive rating. One of only 4 teams in the league that can say that. And according to EPM, estimated plus minus, which factors in stuff like strength of schedule, they're the 5th best team in the league right now. And one of only 2 teams in the top 7 in both offense and defense. I think the Cavs are the other team. So when you factor in all of this stuff, you could see where the expectations come from. 2, I think their offensive profile is absolutely tremendous. Now you're gonna find some people who hate this brand of basketball. They hate the live by the 3, die by the 3 stuff, and you can see why, because the Mavericks most certainly do that. If they're not hitting their shots, which they haven't plenty of times this year. I think that game against the Rockets, they missed 43 threes. You understand how fucking nuts that is? They miss 43. Like, most teams don't even attempt 43 threes, let alone miss 43 threes in a singular game. But if you don't have great one-on-one guys, which outside of Luka and Dinwiddie's pretty good too, the Mavericks really don't have great one-on-one guys. So it makes sense to sort of play this brand of basketball. We're going to space the floor. We're going to drive and kick. We're going to find open shooters. No one in the league shoots more corner threes than the Dallas Mavericks. 76% of their shots are either at the rim or threes. That's the highest number in the entire NBA. They have the 2nd best shot quality in the NBA, and they average 103 points per 100 possessions in the half court, which is the 2nd best number in the league. Those are all very, very good offensive numbers. This is a very, very good and efficient half-court offense. We know that this team currently they're second to last in pace. So they play slow. They're in the half court the vast majority of the game. I think like 86% of their possessions or something like that are in the half court. And they play really, really well. The only team better than them right now is the Celtics, who are like on pace to shatter pretty much every offensive efficiency record there is in the history of the game. So the offense is pretty good, and thankfully shots have started to fall over the past week or two. It's a big reason why the Mavericks have won 4 of their last 5 games, right? It's hilarious because if you were to show me the last 5-game stretch for the Dallas Mavericks, right? The Warriors, the Pistons, the Knicks on the road, the Suns, the Nuggets on the road, a second night of back-to-back, and you were to tell me, hey, the Mavericks go 4-1 during this stretch of 5 games, who do they lose to? I would have picked the Pistons. Like, I would have 100% said, yeah, they're going to lose to Detroit. Guaranteed. And that's exactly what they did. 4 very impressive wins, and then you're still just kind of like, yeah, but that loss to Detroit was so unfathomably bad. That's the problem with this fucking team. That's the problem. outside of offense, I mean, they've also turned it up defensively as of late. You could see the effort level is much, much better over the past couple of games. And I think we have to thank the MVP of the team for that. That's right. This chair. If you've been following me at all, you know that I've said there's no trade that's going to fix this team in season. That's really going to make a big difference, right? What's really going to make the difference? The one thing that would make the difference is somebody going into the locker room and throwing some furniture, yelling at people, maybe slapping somebody, throwing something, punching a hole in the wall, something, right? Because this team desperately needed a spark. It desperately needed something. And at halftime of that Knicks game in Madison Square Garden, the first half was so lifeless and so terrible, coming off of a terrible loss against the Pistons. Something just clicked in the second half of that game. Defense was flying. I think they held the Knicks like 14 points in the third quarter. I mean, it was evisceration in the second half of that game. And the Mavericks have not, up until this point, looked back since then. After that, they go on to beat the Suns. They blow the Suns out, and then they beat the Nuggets in a hard-fought game. Second night of a back-to-back on the road. I'm telling you, somebody threw a chair. I need to get to the bottom of it. I need to figure out who it was, who got hit. Like, my theory right now is JaVale McGee took the brunt of it, right? He's a vet. He's been around the league. He knows what's up. He's won some championships. He knows somebody's going to have to get hit by this throwing chair. I'll gladly sacrifice myself. We need to know. We need to know who it was. And outside of the flying chair, you also have Tim Hardaway Jr., who's made 5 or more threes in each of his last 5 games. He's one of only 10 players in the history of basketball to do that. One of only 10 guys. That's actually shocking to me. Only 10 guys ever have done that. But that's a number Tim Hardaway Jr. finds himself. That's an exclusive club Tim Hardaway Jr. finds himself in. It's hilarious because in the 4 games leading up to this current 5-game stretch Tim is on, he was a combined 2 of 19 for 3. So that just kind of perfectly encapsulates Tim Hardaway. You have the 4 games where it's just horrendous, and then this, historic 5-game stretch that he's currently on right now. I apologize for calling THJ terribly hoisted jumpers. I apologize for that. I'll never call him that again. And Josh Green becoming a legitimately good player has been, I mean, it's huge for this team. It's monumental for this team, not just for this season, but for the future as well. He continues to have the best net rating on the team by far, and you could tell his confidence, it's rising. Not only offensively, man, he's attacking the paint much more. He's willingly finishing. I mean, he's a pretty good finisher, right? His layup package, it looks a little bit shaky at times, but he gets the job done. His playmaking is taking a step forward because of his aggressiveness, because of his willingness to attack the defense, because of his willingness to shoot and make threes. Now defenses have to respect you. Now you can attack those closeouts. Now you can pass the ball. It's great. There was a play in that Nuggets game where he dumped it off to Luka, who got an easy, I don't know if it was a Nuggets game or the Suns game. Either way, it was a really, really nice play. Really, really good to see from Josh Green. He flies around the court, and his confidence is through the roof, man. He's talking shit to other players. He was talking shit to Damian Lee. He got teed up yelling at the refs against the Nuggets. You've never seen that before. That's the markings of a confident player. He's got to talk shit. He's got to yell at the refs. I love it. And of course, you have Luka Doncic, who's playing like the best player in the world right now. He's the best EPM in the league, the best offensive EPM in the league. He leads the world in scoring. His 3-point percentage has trended up to 35% now. He's been lights out from 3 the past couple of weeks. And he looks more locked in consistently, right? On a consistent level. He looks more locked in defensively than he ever has at any point in his career. And I'll just play this clip from Josh Green that shows that shit matters.
Defensive coach and Coach Sweeney and, guys like, Luka's playing defense, and it's really cool to see, and he's taking pride in his defense.
I've been trying to tell you guys, man, like Luka locking in defensively, it changes things for the team. They see their leader. They see the best player trying, jumping passing lane, staying in front of his guy. That kind of rallies the troops. And another big reason why I can't quit this Mavs team, if you just look at the lineup data, man, they have some lineups that just destroy the competition. And these are lineups that should be out there for a large portion of the game. Like, these are probably, the eye test doesn't just back this up. The numbers back this up. These are probably your best 5 players you have on the team currently, and they need to be on the floor more. First and foremost, Christian Wood. If you want to reach your ceiling, he has to be out there. You have to get the most you could possibly get outside of Christian Wood. How do you maximize him? You have to play him alongside Maxi Kleber. Christian Wood has a 117 defensive rating when by himself. Not a great number, but that number improves to 107 with Maxi on the floor. How do you maximize those two, Maxi and Christian Wood? Well, you play him next to Luka, of course. That trio has a 12.7 net rating when on the floor together. What about Tim Hardaway? He's been red hot lately. Well, how do you maximize him? You play him alongside Josh Green. This duo has an insane 16 net rating when they're on the floor together, but in order to maximize both of those guys, you of course need to play them next to Luka Doncic. And that trio, Luka, Josh Green, Tim Hardaway Jr., has an obscene 31 net rating. They are outscoring their opponents by 31 when on the floor. They have a 135 offensive rating. Just crazy stuff. Combine all 5 of these guys together, Luka, Josh Green, Tim Hardaway, Christian Wood, Maxi Kleber, and it's the second best 5-man lineup in the entire NBA that's played at least 100 possessions so far this season. The second best. They're outscoring the opposing team by 31 points when this grouping is on the floor together. They have the best offensive rating among any 5-man lineup in the league with 100 possessions or more. Essentially, what I'm saying is, kid, get your bald head out of the gutter and play your best guys more. Has my expectations for this Mavs team changed over the first quarter mark of the season? I think so. Right, going into the season, I thought that they were not a championship favorite, but definitely a contender. And a lot would have to go your way from here on out to get to that point, I think. I don't think you're in the same class as teams like Boston and Milwaukee, and even like I know that you usually dominate Memphis, but they're just better than you. I think the Warriors are better than you. I think the Suns are better than you. A lot would have to go your way. But this is still a good team. Like, this is still a good team. I know there's a lot of Mavs fans who want to tank. They've been talking about tank. That shit's just not happening. And you shouldn't want it to happen. As long as Luka Doncic is on the roster, you will always have a chance in a postseason series. And if you have a stretch like you've had over the past 2 weeks where your shooters start to get hot, you can beat anybody in a best-of-7 series. Okay, so don't trick yourself into thinking this team should be dog shit. They shouldn't. And they're not going to be, because, you know, they're going to have some ups and downs. They're a three-point shooting team. They're going to have stretches like we saw early in the season where they're not making shots and they're struggling. But then they're going to have stretches like we've seen over the past couple weeks where they're hitting shots and they're beating really, really good teams on a consistent basis. So it's going to be a frustrating season from here on out. I know that for a fact. But there's going to be some pretty high highs, man. And the Mavericks have supplied a couple of great highs lately.